Hey guys, welcome back.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, back by popular demand. The people requested it.
They voted. They have voted.
Jonathan W. is back. J Money
L Dub
is back, and
J
we're going
Dub
to
actually.
finish out some really good stories from the assisted living place. And I had to make notes here.
Community, aren't we calling it a community?
Yeah, the assisted living communities are called communities because they don't want to be confused with facilities. It's not a nursing home. It's not a board and care place. It's not a hospital. It is an assisted living community.
Or community, depending on where you live.
It's a thriving place where mom and dad can go and thrive. All right, so we're going to start with a story called the Tuesday Church Gang. And so out there in the senior living community where we worked at, you've got a billet of activities, part of the activity programming. A lot of them will include some church activities and places to go out to eat and bingo and things like that. But our favorite was Super Tuesday, as we called it.
Super.
And we had some country guys that came from a country Presbyterian or Baptist church there locally, there in the Cohutta area. And they referred to Tuesday as Tuesday. Every single Tuesday they would come in. We called it the hour of power. They would come in and they would do some music. They would do some musical songs.
Mesmerize the crowd.
Of course, they would bring the word of God from heaven very thunderously, and they would pray us out every single Tuesday. And so they called it Tuesday, and they would come in their overalls and a banjo and read back hymnals, and everybody loved them. Like they would fill that activity room.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the best part was when they would leave, they'd be walking out the door, and that one guy, he would turn around, and he would just turn around, and he'd be like, "I'll see yins next Tuesday."
Tuesday. And Tuesday, see, most people say Tuesday, but he would say it as if he was saying it as chew, like CHEW.
CHEW.
Tuesday. Like we're going to choose it. And so
DEE.
we would always just, that was the running joke is what's going to happen on Tuesday. And so, I'll be very honest with you, Super Tuesdays was very entertaining. I mean, that was, as much as it was for the residents there, it was entertaining for us.
Yeah.
And we had, I will say, we had a very good activities director. Yeah, she was, so, but, I mean, and there was a lot of things going on, but we, as many interesting characters as we had at our community, we had a lot of interesting folks that came in our community that we wouldn't get to see otherwise. Just the spectacles of the area, if you will. There was a lot of different folks that came through there. Eclectic people, eclectic to say the least. So
that's what makes the world of senior living such a very interesting field. Is it's typically never a dull moment. It's not as crazy. We don't want it crazy, but it was very interesting, very rewarding. It was just a fun day at work, no matter what day of the week it was. And that's one of the reasons why.
The good thing is half the time, the things that went on behind the scenes, the residents, I mean, they probably didn't see. I mean, they didn't see probably 98% of it. I mean, it was all done behind the scenes because just like anything else, when you've got guests in hospitality, there's moving parts and things happen. But yeah, it was definitely the people that we got exposed to just outside of our community was memorable to say the least. So,
all right, and the next story will be the raccoon hat.
Oh, this is good. Yeah.
So one day I was coming into work, probably about 8:45 a.m. We worked a typical 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 schedule. There was one report, though, we had to submit to corporate that was due every single morning, well, just during the weekdays. So the report only mattered Monday through Friday, prior to 9 a.m., where we had to basically do a head count of everybody there within the computer, punch it in and send it. And so as I'm coming in, I'm turning the corner to head into the computer to send this report out. And I glanced over at the residents. Sometimes you just kind of want to make sure one or two caregivers are there serving them. And I look over and I see one of our residents wearing a hat or a wig. I couldn't tell what it was. There was something on top of her head. And I had to keep walking to get to the computer to log in to submit this report before 9 every morning. And I said to myself, I'm positive she's not wearing a raccoon hat on top of her head. Now, for those of you that don't know, a raccoon hat here in the South, it's made out of raccoon skin, and it's like the huge body of a raccoon, and it's got the tail of a raccoon. I don't know why these became popular in the 1800s or something.
Kept your head warm.
People from the Oregon Trail was wearing these raccoon hats, and they became quite popular here in the South. And every now and then, just for the heck of it, you'll see somebody here in the South wearing a raccoon hat. But
Hot commodity.
I've never seen one in assisted living. I've never seen an old lady. It's not your headpiece of choice, ever. And so I got the report done and I went into the dining room, and sure enough, she was wearing a raccoon hat. And so I went to the caregivers to inquire why. Why is this lady, how is this lady wearing a raccoon hat here at 9 a.m. in the morning? Of course, the caregivers, they are getting, your mom or dad up from bed. They're giving them medications. Maybe they're giving them a quick sponge bath to get them ready for breakfast. They're putting some clothes on them. And the caregivers are also the servers sometimes in these small places. So they're trying to get as many people dressed and out to the dining room so they can get fed for morning breakfast. And this lady had a loss of her hair. That's pretty typical for older folks to lose their hair. She wore wigs often, and they couldn't find the wig that morning. And so, what's a good second best is
A nice coonskin hat.
that she just happened to have there somewhere on her
Well,
dresser.
and I think it's more telling that why would she have a coonskin hat? I mean, if she's just wearing wigs, like what? Like who just has a coon? I don't have a coonskin hat. Do you have a coonskin? I mean, here. I mean,
No,
where do you? I mean, I don't even know where you buy. I mean, other than Cracker Barrel. I mean, where else would you?
Yeah, the Cracker Barrel would have one for $45.
Yeah, exactly. You can get that in a cast iron skillet for for 110. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know who just owns a raccoon hat.
But the image that has burned in my mind ever since that day of turning the corner, looking in, and seeing, we'll just call her Mrs. S. Mrs. S. Well, actually, her name rhymed with Starbucks, so we called her Miss Starbucks. I can say the name because it's not her real name, but her fake name that we made up for her was just as precious, Miss Starbucks. And so Miss Starbucks is just wearing this coonskin hat, and I'm just like, how in the world? How did this happen? It was just hilarious, and she's just enjoying the coonskin hat,
Hey,
eating her eggs and bacon that morning with some jelly, probably.
well, I will say this: in our you didn't want to miss breakfast at our community because breakfast was good. It was not just biscuits. I mean, we had the full spread. So yeah, you didn't want to miss breakfast.
But
That's
it
for
was
sure.
just a warm up
Oh,
to the thunderous lunch that's gonna kick your socks off.
well, and let's preface this. So most of these folks that come into a senior living community and assisted living community, they're typically underweight. What they should be typically, and so we're trying to put weight on them just to get them back to where they would be, and usually they come in they gain about 10-15 pounds. And but the reason why at our community they gain probably 15 to 20 is because of this extraordinary lunch that we would have quite often. I mean, it wasn't like it was just once every month. I mean, we would have it probably once a week.
Is it the beef
Yeah,
stroganoff?
the beef stroganoff.
I felt like it was Thursdays.
Yeah, every Thursday beef stroganoff, and it was literally like an elephant tranquilizer. I mean, it would just absolutely. I would eat it, and I could only eat half because I knew if I ate any more, I would have to go lie down somewhere. I mean, and we had couches, placed throughout the facility, and I would sit on the couch, and you would just pass out. There was no you couldn't feel your eyes getting heavy; they just closed because it was like you were drugged. Yeah.
Your body was powering down to
You were
make
checked out. I mean, absolutely.
your body was trying to say, like, whoa, look at all these starched carbs coming through the blood. We've got to work overtime to deal with this. How do we deal with it? Just power down.
You almost needed a blood thinner to take while you're eating the beef stroganoff.
And Lori's been watching the videos and enjoying them. But Lori, you got to fess up. What are you putting in that beef stroganoff? Because you would serve it with just an extra smile. Like I'm about to power down this entire community for the next 2 hours.
3/4 of a can of Crisco and 3 pounds of fat and just throw it in there. My goodness.
And the rolls had that powerful effect too. And you would, if you're like me, you would tell yourself every day at work, I'm not having a roll.
No, I'm not doing it.
I don't need that roll. And then
you would eat 3.
I'd say, hey, no rolls. And then there would be 3 on the plate. She would give it to us and be like, here you go.
Remember,
I know you said no rolls, but here's 4.
The leftover rolls from the day before, we would heat them up in the morning for breakfast and put jelly on them. And oh my gosh. I mean, I'd have coffee and it was just, I would be done before lunch. I never did that on a beef stroganoff day because
you knew.
Because I knew I would.
You knew better.
Yeah, they would have to put oxygen on me to keep me breathing because I wouldn't be able to wake up. I mean, it was that bad.
Yeah.
Whew, gosh.
The lunches there were super special. And here's another good one. Now we've got photo evidence for this one. So our friends from Facebook have provided an actual photo.
Oh, really?
Of the wood bumper story.
Wow, we have court data. That's good. I mean, that's the wood bump. Well, so Lori, and she obviously watches here. I just caught a whisper of this as it matriculated through the community, and so I go back to the kitchen, And I'm like, a wood bumper? I mean, and when I had tried to go back there and see it, Lori had gone. She'd gone to run errands or pick something up from the store, and so I didn't get to see it. Well, she's out there smoking a cigarette, and I heard she was back, so I go out there and I'm like, just sort of fancy myself, sort of see what's going on here. And sure enough, she had a 4x4 post ratcheted onto the front of her car, and I'm like, I didn't even like, well, apparently, and please correct me if if I get the story incorrect here, but she'd gotten pulled over by the police in Ringo, and not Ringgold, because Ringgold is not how you say
Ringgold,
it.
Georgia.
You don't say it as Ringgold, Georgia. That's what everybody from outside of Ringgold says. It's Ringo, Georgia. They had pulled her over, Catoosa County, I'm assuming, and said that her car was unlawful to drive because she didn't have a bumper. Well, she was going to, and a bumper honestly was probably going to cost what, $2,500, and I mean that's a lot of money for anybody. And so, well, she did one better. She went down, probably got a post for, I don't know, $30, and I don't know. She had some guy put it on. I forgot who put it on. Maybe did John put it on?
Who knows?
I mean, goodness. But, and I will say this: she could have moved. She could have. I mean, she could have pushed anything with that. I mean, logs, dead animals. I mean,
small buildings,
small buildings,
dumpsters.
I mean, oh my god! Oh, she could have moved a dumpster with that thing easy, 100%.
And Lori was always having some sort of terrible car accident. Never her fault, but it was always these stories, of a twin engine plane fell on Highway 64. My Hyundai Sonata just happened to be underneath it.
It took out the front axle and the back axle, but somehow I was still okay.
But I still made it to work. She never missed work.
No, never. And
she was always there.
The people that ever since I worked with Lori, the people that always, now I work with, I can't make it to. I'm like, you have no excuse, because I've seen a lady that literally probably experienced every disaster there ever was, and she still made it to work. And none of that, she made it on time, and somehow made it every day. So
she had that bumper just plowing people out of the way on her way in.
My gosh, I mean, that would have been a good riot car, because you could have just pushed people. You know what I mean? Like you could have just plowed them out of the way.
Yeah.
Would have been. I think that could have
needed that a couple of years ago.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I think they probably pulled her over because sometimes the cops will pull you over if you have super significant damage to your vehicle.
Yeah.
I think they pull you over because they want to make sure, are you okay?
Oh, yeah.
Or are the people, did you just run over okay? What happened to your vehicle?
They're checking for evidence.
And, like hit and run evidence. And I think it's a state law. We'll just get my brother to chime in, let me know if I'm right or wrong. Like, you have to have a bumper. Even if that means, this may just pertain to just the Great South down here, even if it means a wood bumper or a PVC bumper or something, you've got to have a bumper. And that's like a state law. Like you can have this fake bumper, but it's got to be a bumper.
A bumper.
And so at work, they were talking about go check out Lori's wood bumper. I thought it was some sort of just some sort of inappropriate inside joke. I had no idea that Lori and her husband had mounted one of those railroad cross ties.
That's basically what it was, a railroad cross tie.
Front of her car, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And I remember laughing so hard outside because I like, who does that? Why would you do that? I didn't know that there's an actual meaning behind it. But somebody took an actual picture of that.
Yeah, we need to drop that
bumper,
in.
And man, I mean, how do you still keep a picture from 2013?
Well, Google Photos, I guess.
Ashley keeps them.
Does she?
Yep.
Wow. Well, yeah. I don't. That was a sight to be. And that was, we had a different.
Did since then I've just noticed maybe 4 or 5 wood bumpers in my lifetime. That every now and then I will see a car like on the freeway or something, and I'm like, yeah, I bet that person got pulled over and got themselves a wood bumper.
Now I've seen the steel ones, the ones that are like a piece of steel for what they make buildings out of,
on an F-150.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like and I'm like, my gosh, if you hit somebody, you're dead. Like it's not bumping. It's like
that's destroying.
Yeah, you're cutting them in half. Yeah, it's something like you'd see off of a truck or a demolition truck or something.
Well, one of our other favorite stories from Lori is every morning, probably like where you work.
Oh, this is good.
You have morning meetings. What would we do without morning meetings?
Oh gosh.
The most productive chunk of my day would always be as soon as I get there. So why not have a meeting that's going to absorb the most productive, quiet moment of your day first thing? That's what corporate America does. So for the first, it would take 10 minutes to round everybody up.
Oh.
And the meeting was just general FAQ, frequently asked questions. Here's some announcements for the day. Is everybody here? Who's late? Why are they late? What's on the menu today? What's on the maintenance list for today?
And here's and this as a side item agenda that was sort of an unspoken, but you knew it was going to happen. People talking about the most useless and random things that had nothing to do with anybody, but it was a one-off that happened to a resident. That what are we going to do about this? And what? And it was just like we were all sitting there, just I mean, revolvers loaded. I mean, it was like it was pointless. In fact, I just half time I would just get up and leave because I'm not going to sit around for and I got in trouble for it. Actually, I got a warning that I should not be leaving morning stand up, even though I should respect everyone's input into the morning meeting. And so anyway,
it was fun. I'm remembering now that the caregivers almost felt these were single parent moms who had a lot of things going on in their world, things that I just don't have going on. And so it would be their first opportunity to sit down and really talk with their coworker about what's going on in their life. And as Jason would be trying to do a head count and start, they would be in the middle of their discussion of, well, Mrs. Jones better watch her back. Nobody's going to talk to my kid like that at school, or they're going to get a bullet in their back or their Chrysler. And then you would be like, do we start now, or should we let's hear your story? We want to give you a safe space. What's going on at the school? Well, I take care of mine, and I'm just not about to have him be bullied like that. And I'm just gonna go up there today. Can I leave early and go to the school? And so we would have to tend to this outside issue for the first 11 minutes of the meeting, because you would be a jerk if you just started the meeting and talked about, well, who's touring today, Jonathan? Tell us about your marketing appointments. So I remember that being the first 10 minutes. Usually not every meeting, but every other meeting.
And I'll be honest with you, no one wanted to hear about who was touring the facility anyway. These people, I mean, honestly, these caregivers, more tours meant more residents, and that meant more work for them for the same amount of money. So, I understood they were going to make even more money by me bringing in residents.
I wanted to hear how they were robbed of Kohl's cash, and they've got to wait till next Friday, and to get
Kohl's cash.
Because it was just something.
Well,
it was just something.
Or whose boyfriend messed up and was hanging out with somebody else.
Yeah, Jason, we caught him cheating. We did. Yep, right down there at the Waffle House trying to turn in his Kohl's cash, and we caught him red-handed.
That was the other thing. One boyfriend got caught shopping at Kohl's using the girlfriend's Kohl's cash with his new girlfriend. That was hilarious. And they would take breaks on their 15-minute smoke breaks. They go down to Kohl's. To go shopping, but to see whose boyfriends are down there shopping.
We're going to pull them cameras, and we're going to find out where Jermaine was now.
There was a lot of people that turned detectives in our community, which
it was funny.
Oh, it was hilarious. Yeah, but smoke breaks, you'd be like, okay, well, where's so and so? Oh, she's not here. What? How can she not be here? She's just taking a break. Oh, she went down to Kohl's. Now Kohl's was only 7 minutes down the road, so they go down there 7 minutes. They drive around the parking lot. They run in real quick and then come out and then come back to the community.
Hilarious.
But
we were family, so when they had a crisis going on,
we all had a crisis.
You kind of felt like it was your crisis, and we did what we could to help each other out. But Lori, Monday through Friday, is that Lori?
No, it's my alarm going off, which I don't know why, but I'm gonna turn it off.
But we had the morning stand-ups Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturdays, right at 9 a.m. sharp. Everybody had to be there. They called it stand-up because corporate says, okay, these meetings should take 30 seconds. And nothing takes 30 seconds.
Not in corporate America.
But they're like, if we stand up, we can get through this very quickly. No one's going to be telling stories about how my son was robbed of his Kohl's cash on the school bus number 3 Saturday. And so if you stand up, well, caregivers are working their rear ends off. This is their only chance to sit down
and
for
breathe
10 minutes.
A little bit.
So we all sit down. And then you got to bring your breakfast in. So anyway.
Well, and to the caregivers, they had been working since like
6 a.m.
Yeah, 6 a.m. So they'd already been working 3 hours before we even get there. And so they're like, yeah, let's sit down. What are we doing?
Please sit down. Yeah. Take a break, please, because we need you to finish for the next 8 hours.
Exactly.
And so, but what was so funny about the morning stand-up meetings is they were super consistent. We had to have them. We had to take notes and then put them into an Excel spreadsheet and upload them to the corporate drive of the computer system. So there was we're just going to skip it today. But without fail, every single day, Lori would come in and ask me or Jason or Jonathan, are we having stand-up today? Are we having stand-up today? And I would be at that computer, remember, right before 9 a.m. I would have to type in that corporate census report every morning. And so she would be coming to the front desk, Michael, are we having stand-up today? And I'm like, yeah, yes, of course we're having it. And then sometimes I wouldn't be able to talk. I'm trying to get this in, man, before 9 a.m.
It
And
was
then,
literally like a buzzer. Like if not, if you didn't have it in a certain time, even though you might have put it a minute late, you still got it's almost like an automatic email. Why have you not sent in the census for today?
yeah.
It's like,
And then it would go to the regional. Then the regional would call your community and want to know.
like,
So,
well, why are you guys not doing stand up? Like, oh dear God, it was literally a chain of events that like you would see in the office. I mean,
yeah.
it was just like, well, why haven't you filled out your TPS reports? It's like good gosh almighty.
It was I learned so much working there. I mean, it was a side of business and corporate that I had never been exposed to, and I learned so much. Like as overreaching and overbearing as it was, I kind of got a sick kick out of look how these people freak out when things aren't done at these particular times. Like I was amazed that there's an actual system that lets them know when we're doing something wrong. I was amazed by it.
Well, here's a question I always ask: who's looking at these stand up reports? Like, who's is there anybody that's even watching them? Like, because I felt like we could put anything down, and it would, as long as we put something.
Yeah.
It didn't have it couldn't be nothing as long as there was something.
We could have written out about the Coles Cash story, and nobody
100%.
would have.
We could have said half the building burned down, and I don't think nothing would have happened other than okay, they've had stand up today. That's good. We've accomplished. Our people are there. Yeah, check the box. We're good to go.
But it was so hilarious that Lori would always ask, "Are we having it?" She would ask Jonathan. She would ask Jason. She would ask John. She would ask anybody.
I would just say no, just to mess with Lori,
to see her head explode.
Yeah, because Amanda would ask me the same. I'm like, no, I don't know. I'm just here for the paycheck. So.
All right. How about man versus copy machine?
Oh yes, absolutely. All right, so our community, and I think we said this on the first one, maybe not. I don't know. We were part of a pilot community, or let's just call it boost community, if you will. A focused community, and so we had this team of corporate people. Okay, most of them were the upper people were clowns. Just be honest. But we had good regional people that if the corporate folks would just get out of the way, we probably could have done some really cool stuff. But anyway, we had a guy. He was over operations for our region. His name's Jerry. Great guy. From up north. Just he shot you straight. No bull. He just he wasn't there to get chatty with you. He was there to
love Jerry.
He was there to get things done.
Yep.
He was going 100 miles an hour. And so anyway, we, as in all operations, you want things to run smooth. Well, we had this decrepit copy machine, and it was literally, I don't know how old it was. I mean, it was probably, who knows? But it just didn't work. I mean, it would do things, and the other thing too is it was storing patient information.
Yeah.
And that's a no-no in our realm because it stored patient information from like another company or something. It was
when we got bought out.
Yeah, that's right.
When the merger took over, we got new business cards. We got it was a complete rebranding of the entire system, which was a good thing. And so they were going to furnish us with some new copy machines. And so you've got to get rid of the old one, especially since this one has the memory drives or something that had everybody for the past 100 years, all this HIPAA information.
It was going to cost thousands of dollars to destroy. Like if you send it off, because they have to get rid of the drives and destroy them properly or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why we took matters in our own hands.
Yeah. So
regional.
We sentenced this copier to guilty and to death, and death by beating. And so we took Jerry. I said, boys, you want to go have some fun? And so we went out there and literally.
Here he comes with here's 4 hammers, guys. Just. Give this copy machine, give it everything you can.
I've never seen so much pent up frustration.
I was scared of just pieces of plastic.
No safety
taking
wear.
out my eyesight.
No safety wear. And we're out there in what?
Suits.
Suits, yeah.
In suits in the back parking lot. Just demolishing this copy machine.
I was watching these guys, and I had a couple good swings in, and then I'm sitting back, I'm like, well, who's going to clean this? Who's going to clean all this up? Like, I guess, did we get John to do it? I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, we got to destroy a perfectly good copy. I guess it did work. That's what it was. It saved the memory.
And you couldn't get it out. Like you couldn't send it to the dumpster. You couldn't take it to the dump. Yeah. You had to get rid of it, and you had to smash these memory banks or something. Then you could put it in the dumpster.
Correct.
And to do a service would have been a couple of $1,000
yeah.
for them to do that.
And they weren't going to pay $1,000.
But man, it was just solid gold. Seeing the Colonel, Jerry, with
the
that
Colonel,
hammer,
that's what we call, yeah.
just smashing this. I mean, it was ours. We were supposed to kind of destroy it,
Yeah.
but he took it and ran with it.
I don't think Jerry really liked being in our community anyway, because where our community was, it was somewhat out of the way. It was just from where they lived.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't necessarily the easiest trek to get there, but man, yeah, the Colonel was, he was raining blows upon that machine. That's for
And
sure.
it is exactly like the scene from that movie Office Space, where they get so tired of the corporate machine that they have to work under, and they take this computer and copier into the middle of this field. It looked exactly like
non-scripted either. I mean, it was like we didn't even really, until afterwards. You're like, oh my gosh, this is a scene out of a movie. But yeah, that was a wild scene, and I'm surprised no one got a shard of plastic in their
it was, or hit with a hammer from the guy beside him. It was pretty dangerous.
Yes, we needed to be in one of those smash rooms. That's what we needed to be. I'm surprised how we even got the copier out there. It wasn't small.
Well, it was on wheels.
Well, I know, but I mean, you're talking about going through did we take it out the back? I think we took it out the back through the kitchen. I can't remember.
Man, I don't know, but that was hilarious. Speaking of things that are destroyed, we did have something called the Peachtree van.
Oh gosh.
And that was before the company merger.
Yeah.
We had an old, and it was a Dodge. It was a Dodge something. Chrysler's and Dodges, don't you think that they're just not made as well as any other car in the world?
Well, they need to see if they do that because they need people to buy them. So if they break down sooner, then more people will buy them. I mean, I would assume that's the rationale. I mean,
something about those Dodges and Chryslers.
Well, quality control. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? But
some people love them.
They do.
Those 300s look good though.
They do look good. Breaking Bad, Walter White.
Yeah.
Chrysler
like a Dodge Charger. I'd have one in a heartbeat.
Yeah. No.
Like neon orange or something.
Hey, black racing stripes.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Well, we owned a Dodge, our community van,
but not a Charger.
Definitely not. Definitely not. It was a Dodge Super 1000 or something. Whatever they called. You could fit 28 people in it. Man, it was
everybody breathing exhaust inside the van. The muffler was all messed up.
It was a beast. It was white exterior and maroon leather under the vinyl. That hot vinyl plastic interior, maroon. It's got to be maroon.
Maroon pleather. It was a pleather mixture there.
There was something wrong with the starter, with the battery, with the solenoid, with the alternator. Every time we took it to the dealership, they would take them a week to run diagnostics to try to figure out, why does this thing just power down in the middle of an intersection carrying 14 90-year-old people that need their diabetic medications in 45 minutes? This thing would power down in the worst possible places. And what was crazy is that the logo for our assisted living community was on the sides of it.
Oh.
And we were a focused community trying to build revenue, trying to get some new people in, trying to drive some business back up. But one of your greatest marketing pieces is sitting at an intersection every Wednesday afternoon.
It seemed like it broke down at the same time every time. I mean, it was like, oh, well, we're going to have to go get the van. It's like, and Jason would be in the middle of 8 different things, and we'd get the call, Jason. and Jason would be like, Michael, please don't tell me the van's broken down.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me the van's broken down.
I'm sorry, Jason, but the van's broken down.
Jason was our executive director. The life would have just drained out of his.
Because this was one more thing that wasn't going right at this building. And it was never, this would have been we're going to take it back to the Chrysler place for the 15th time. And I was okay. I don't mind sitting in an intersection in a van for 35 minutes, get caught up on a text message, or
smoke a cigarette.
Call my cousin in Florida and check on them. But it's the people that they can't take this heat without no air conditioner. And within 10 minutes, they're losing their minds back here. And we're missing medications. We're missing
oxygen. They don't have their oxygen.
We're missing Tuesday Bible study, and it's almost.
Oh, don't let that happen on a Super Tuesday. Oh my goodness.
And so it got to the point to where we're going to take it to the dealership again, and hopefully, this will be the time when corporate reads this report and says, what would make more sense is buy these guys a new van.
As many times as we took it to the dealership, in just the time that I was there, we could have probably bought a new van.
No doubt.
100%.
Over and over and over and over. And the worst part was you would have to, that's right. And so Regional made me in charge of calling in to the special warranty company that would tell us at the end of the call, the guy would be like, okay, take it to the Dodge place. And I would have, and this call would take about 13 minutes to get through. And so I would have to ask for this certain guy in Wisconsin to get it approved to take it to the Dodge place. And then finally, I don't know who did the final reports, maybe Jason, because he was a super smart guy. He finally asked for the Dodge place, say, hey, send me every report and the cost analysis for every time we've taken it to you guys and every time you've replaced the solenoid, the spark plug, the what's that from the Back to the Future, the flex capacitor,
yeah, flex capacitor,
all these things that they had to replace,
the flange.
And oh my goodness. And so it was in the multiplied thousands of what it cost. And so finally somebody read the report and said, I think we just need to give you guys a new van.
Yeah, and we probably could have fed a small country with the amount of money that we spent on that van. I do remember though that getting in there in that van, it smelled so bad because I mean there were accidents on there, and mostly either probably number two or vomiting, and it was just awful. And I felt bad for the residents that had to, a lot of the residents in our old van, that their family would just take them. We were going to do an event, they would just take them. They wouldn't even let them ride.
Yeah, hey, we'll take your dad to the dentist office in the van. No, we got it. I'm going to take a vacation day. We're going to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what was the new van that we got?
Gosh, I don't even know the automaker of it.
It was one of the. It
was nice.
Yeah, it was one of the. It wasn't like a passenger van. It was one of the ones where they could step on and
it was like
seats.
an extended minivan. It was brand new, and it had the special. I forgot the special lift that it's called, but basically you pull the ramp out.
Yeah, because what's his name? He had to have that. So
yeah, I forgot the brand of it. I mean, it was not a Dodge. No. It was not a Dodge. It was not a Chrysler.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. We felt like we were big time when we got
it was super nice, and they had our logos, our new logos on the side of it, and I'm like, this is good advertising. This is good.
Well, it's even better when it's not broken down in the middle of an intersection. That makes it even better.
Impeding traffic.
Oh my! Well, I mean, people honking and they're cursing, and our residents, they don't know what's going. I mean, it's like, and people are flipping us off. Peach, you get out of the way! Oh my goodness, our poor residents.
That was crazy. And every time I'd get in that van, I knew it would start because it never died at the place.
No.
Like it never didn't start. But after your doctor appointment that you were running, or after your trip, or I've got to go to Staples and get some toner for the copy machine this week, and it would always start. But somewhere during that drive back,
it was gonna conk out.
Maybe Lori was putting beef stroganoff in the gas tank and it was dying.
Well, that would be.
That's making sense.
That would at least connect the dots a little bit. My goodness.
And
what's the other one?
The Coke machine.
Yeah, I did the Coke machine.
So at this community, I had a great position called the Assistant Executive Director, and I had lots of capabilities, being in charge of the schedule, some accounts payable, some accounts receivable, some human resources stuff, doing some employee onboarding. I mean, it was just some hands-on things at the same time. I loved this gig, helping Jason out. Something that I was not in charge of was the Coke machine, but we did have an employee who thought that, hey, Michael's in charge of like 50% of things, so maybe he's in charge of the Coke machine too. And this one particular lady, the Coke machine would always take her dollar bill and never give her the Diet Coke that she needed.
Every time.
Or the vending machine wouldn't pump out those white powder donuts that she liked.
Well, and to be fair, this certain lady she drank, I don't know, probably 15 Diet Cokes a day. And just because they said diet doesn't necessarily mean they were healthy.
It's the opposite.
It was the exact opposite. And so, and it was almost like playing slots at a casino, because she'd throw it in there and she's pulling the lever. And if she didn't get what she wanted, obviously, then she would she wouldn't look at the number that said on the Coke machine, if you have an issue, please call,
1-800
Gino's Vending or whatever, or Billy's, it doesn't matter what it is. But no, she didn't do that. She wanted to go ask Michael. And so then Michael would have to call and track down the guy, and they would send somebody. I mean, they would, but it was just her Diet Cokes that would be the issue. I mean, everything else was filled to the brim.
It was a strange request because I had nothing to do with the vending machines whatsoever. And it was strange that she thought I was the person in charge of it. And the first couple of times I felt like it kind of affected my ego a little bit. Like, I'm not in charge of your stupid powdered donuts. You call them yourself.
Oh yeah, we had the vending machine too. I forgot about that.
And then I told her, I was like, hey, there's a number on the machine. Call it yourself. And then, and you know how some people, she just wanted me to call.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And so after a few times, and she was never rude about it. Like, she was super nice about it. She's like, Michael, I took my money again. Can you call them? And then donuts from Wednesday. Michael, I put in 75 cents and it just gave me a quarterback and no donuts. And that was Wednesday the 15th. And here, I made a note of when they took my.
She had a list of all the days.
It's,
And I'll be honest with you, if she put her money in on Wednesday and she didn't get her donuts, she would complain to Michael. And the next day, she would put her money again, thinking that the vending machine had gotten fixed.
yeah, overnight.
Yeah, overnight. No, it hadn't.
No.
And her donuts were still hanging there. And
she would put them in again.
She would put it in again. Michael, the
happened again.
The machine took my money again. Well, did you get it fixed? No.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I left him a message for you. And so finally, after about a dozen times, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him. Apparently, I'm the guy for this for you.
You're that guy.
And it means the world to you. I'm just going to add this to my little notebook. And so from now on, guys, people at work, if the Coke machine gives you any problems, I'm just taking ownership of it.
Call Michael.
Disregard the 1-800 number on the very front of the machine that you're facing.
No, that number's irrelevant.
Let me know.
That number's irrelevant.
Let me know. I'll call that same number.
What about that diet, though, of powdered sugar donuts in the morning with a Diet Coke? I mean, is that just not special? It is. Oh. And there was the donuts with the nuts around them. No, it was coconut.
Like macaroons or something.
Yeah, macaroons.
Those are good.
They are, but those would be out as well. And here's the thing: we had a full kitchen in the back. Like we could have had bacon, eggs, fruit. We could have had fruit. I mean, there was all kinds of water. I mean, coffee. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't have access to food. But this person felt like that donuts, powdered donuts, and Diet Cola was
the punchline. And this is terrible for me to say, but I'm going to say it. The punchline is she was our health and wellness director.
Yeah, she was. It was just
now I'm overweight. I've gained 10 pounds or 15 pounds, so I'm not I'm no Arnold Schwarzenegger myself. We all have our vices. Hers was Diet Coke and donuts. Mine is fast food at 10 p.m. But so we're all in the same boat. We're all struggling with the health. But it was just funny that was her go-to meal, and she's a precious person. She may or may not be watching, but we love you.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was pretty funny.
Everybody has their own quirks, and so sometimes they shine brighter than others. but anyway, it was
maybe she was just going through a sugar phase.
Could be. Well, I've got a story of, and this is the way. So as a focused quote unquote community, we were going to look at what other communities were doing within our network of communities and use best practices to incorporate at our community so that way we would have, we could, up sales and more community engagement. And we love using the word community. So I got to go shadow a lunch as a lunch and learn, if you will, with I'm just going to say a senior networking placement focused networking group is the way I would just.
Those are very popular.
Very popular.
They probably have those senior networking meetings a couple of times a month. And if you're in the marketing arm of the community, and just for those of you that don't know or just watching, you just tuned in, we worked in an assisted living community together. And these places, although they take great care of mom or dad or your grandma or your grandparents, very compassionate place, food, nice apartments, maintenance provided, landscaping, trips to the doctor, all that's included. But what you don't know behind the scenes is a well-oiled sales machine, because the apartment's around $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. And if your building has 40 apartments, you want all 40 apartments filled. And so if your community if the sales start to drop, if the occupancy starts to drop, corporate, being good business owners, has to come in and give you a little lift, give you a little focus. So that's where we were.
Yeah, and I was brought in sort of from an aftermath of issues that happened, and so I was sort of brought in to help sort of I guess steer the ship and sort of get things on the right path. And it just doesn't happen with one person. I mean, you could have the best sales people ever, but if you don't have a good executive director, if you don't have good caretakers, if you don't have somebody like a Michael who is the sort of catch-all for everything for the executive director, I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, it takes a team. It does take a team. And so I was brought in though, and within this focused community, I was gonna shadow this lunch and learn, and all the other sales folks, but other than me, and we were called area market managers. I think I think that was what we were called, market managers, and so I was going to go shadow this lunch and learn. Well, there was only me and another guy were the only male figure. Everybody else was women. All good, but it's a different. Women live in this world that it's a different world for them than it is men, and meaning that they do things that are what they do things that work for them. It does not necessarily work for men, and they're good at it, and they're very good at it. But
Right.
it does not work for a guy.
Just different approaches sometimes.
Very different approach, and so you have to find your own approach. And our regional director, she was a very hands-on, sort of artsy, crafty type approach. Meaning, we did a pancake breakfast, and we need to make centerpieces, and we need to have things at the pancake breakfast where there's like little signs, and maybe if it's during the fall, we'd have like a hay bale and pumpkins.
She was good with the decor.
Very good with the decor.
Very good with relationship building. Very empathetic.
The decor. She did all the decor for our model rooms and did a great job.
Right.
I mean, it was
And guys, we just don't have that eye for that.
No.
We would put a raccoon hat on the bed. We would put
a shotgun on the wall.
We would put a poster of Hulk Hogan
and a deer head above the bed, and that would
sell.
Hey, we're here, babe. We're here. No, and that was, and so anyway, so I'm going down there, and they had just hired this lady. She'd probably been in there only about 3 months, and so I see, and one of the things, and I just being in sales, one of the things you want to do is people come in, you want to be able to engage with them, make them feel comfortable, and network and talk, because these people are going to send you referrals. I mean, that's why we're there. But this lady that was the market manager for this property, for this community, that's not what she was doing. And I honestly have forgotten her name. But I'm like, well, where is let's call her Susan. Okay, it's not Susan, but let's just call her Susan. And they go, oh well, she's in the back. We need your help. And I'm like, well, I said, if you need my help at this stage, this event is not going to go well. Susan, so usually for a lunch, it's really light. We usually just have salad. You might have a protein like chicken and maybe some fruit, and that's about it. It's not to be a feast. It's not going to be a beef stroganoff type meal. Well, this lady has got her hair pinned back, like she's I don't know, like she's getting ready to go to war, and she's got this apron on. And she has brought in 6 whole chickens, rotisserie chickens. And she's got them in this sink, which I don't know how sanitary the sink was, just pulling chicken. And it's hot. She can't even touch it. And she's trying to delicately, fine dining, pull this chicken off and cut it and do all this. And I'm like, what are we doing? The salad was still in bags. I mean, there was nothing mixed. She was hand chopping carrots. She was going to hand chop cucumbers. I mean, this meal, it would have taken anybody a week to put together. And she's sitting there trying to do all this. Well, then our regional director was like, well, where are the centerpieces? Like, we don't have the centerpieces. And I'm like, this is going to be a disaster. It was a disaster. But so this lady finally is and she's trying, here's the thing, she's trying to pull fat off the chicken and getting the grizzle off I mean, it was just like, what are we doing?
And so you're new and you're just shadowing them and you're wanting to learn about sales.
I'm wanting to learn about sales, and it's more about, I should have been on the Rachel Ray cooking show.
And then here you are.
Yeah, I'm in my suit. I'm like, Mr. Corporate, whatever. And I mean, it was a disaster.
You're skinning chickens.
Oh, I'm skinning chickens. And here's the other thing. She had 6 rotisserie chickens. I bet we only ate half of one. And so she bought the company bought 6 rotisserie chickens. I mean, I don't know what they are. I guess you get them at Food City for $8. But I mean, it was just like, what are we doing? I mean, and the people seemed like they had a good time, but it was just chaos. From I got chicken grease all over my jacket. I mean, it's like my fingertips are burnt from I mean, it was just And I didn't eat any of the chicken because I had she was pulling it all in the sink. Well, there was no stopper for the sink. So who knows? I mean, I didn't eat it. I didn't want to eat it. That was bad. So that was part of my onboarding sales training that I did. Learn how to sell assisted living. So anyway, but I'll tell you what, selling, assisted living is
the best.
It is. And honestly, we tell funny stories, but they provide a great place for mom or dad. And how I really sold is if you don't have somebody like a Michael or a Jason or caregivers, that's really the people that your family member is going to see on a day in, day out basis. I would interact with the residents every now and then. You would always, I'd have my office, and the residents would always, they would always, either have Will up, or they'd walk in there. A family member wanted to chit chat a little bit, but I was not going to be a regular interactive, type person with the residents. That was the caregivers, Michael, Jason. They were the ones that were doing that on a consistent basis. But anyway, it's a great place. While I was working there, I had an aunt that, she lived in Knoxville, that I recommend my mom and dad putting her in assisted living because she needed it. She needed somebody looking after her. She could still get around, do everything she needed, but she just needed just a little bit more care than what a family member could provide. And so, no, it's a very good thing. Even though we sort of make light of some of the stories and stuff, it's a very good thing that those type of facilities, communities are around.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, what other stories we had? I know we've got some more stories. What else do we got? Well, the snow day. Did we talk about the snow day? Did we talk about that in the first one?
I remember a couple of snow days now. I do remember me and Jason going to the Lowe's and getting some ice melt.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've got the story for the snow day. So I lived in Chattanooga, same house I do now, and I was like, Jason, I've got to get out of here. I had a little car, had all wheel drive, but and I was like, I've got to get out of here. Well, no one's leaving. Like it was literally like off Christmas vacation. Like, well, no one's leaving.
And this is news to you because you've never worked in a 24-hour 7 setting.
No, not at all.
Hospitals, assisted livings, independent livings, those places where people live 24/7.
Yep.
Whenever there's a disaster, emergency, or snow, it's actually all hands on deck to take care of the people there and make sure the operation continues. This is news to you because you're used to working, in banks and stuff, where you just leave at 5. Matter of fact, if the weather's coming in, we're just going home.
We're going home. Yeah, we're going to
be just spending the night there.
Yeah. Well, and here was the other thing too. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm just going to leave. They can't. They're not my boss. Like, but then I have to work with these guys every day, and I'm not going to leave them hanging. So like, oh gosh, I got to stay. So because I wanted to leave desperately, but so it's snowing. I mean, it is snowing. Like, and if you live in the South, there's an SNL sketch, but
yeah.
There's an SNL sketch.
Was it that?
It was that.
Was it that storm?
Yeah.
Guys, go after this. After you like, comment, subscribe, go and YouTube Saturday Night Live skit, Trapped in Atlanta Snow, Atlanta Interstate, whatever.
Snow, yeah.
It was. You're right. It was that big snow. This ice storm came out of nowhere, and it left thousands of people stranded here in Atlanta.
Yeah, they always joke like, what's the safest place to go?
The interstate.
The interstate. That's where we go. And so I'm like, Jason, like, I've got to go to Chattanooga. I mean, and he's like, well, I mean, you can't leave. He goes, you can't leave now. And I'm like, well, what's the alternative? He goes, well, we spend the night. I said, spend the night? Are you out of your mind? What are we going to spend the night? He goes, well, we can sleep in the model room. I'm like, I am not.
All of us?
Yeah, all of us.
All 12 of us?
And so, I'm like, I'm not doing this. I am not going to do this. So finally, I think the only saving, I don't know why we had to, I think it was because we were afraid the power was going to go out. I think that was it. And once the bulk of the storm had gone through and the power did not go out, Jason was like, okay, you can leave. Why? That was like, I don't know, I didn't get to leave till like 6:00 that night. And so, anyway, I'm trying to make my way home. Well, a normal trek for me to get home was about 30 minutes. No, it took me 3 hours. And I ended up my car got parked on Swanson Road, and I was trying to go down, and there was like a 5-car pileup at the bottom of Swanson Road between Windstone's golf course and basically Graysville Road. And I had on dress shoes. I was in a suit. And so it's snowing still in Chattanooga to beat the band. Well, the only shoes that I ended up sliding my car off the road. Thank God I didn't hit anything. And I ended up putting on, I had golf shoes in the back of my car, and they were frozen. I mean, they were stiff, but I put on those golf shoes, and I had to walk probably 3 miles to my house.
Really?
Oh yes, absolutely. And I ended up, I think it wasn't the next day. It was it was 2 days later. I was able to get my car and go. But that was that. And I've got another story about me driving. So, this was bad. This was probably, I had just got hired on. I probably wasn't within, I bet I hadn't been working there working more than a month. Well, so one of the things that we had to do was every Friday I had to upload this sales spreadsheet, and it had to be uploaded. You could not.
Is this the sales tracker?
The sales tracker couldn't do it on Monday. It had to be done on Friday. Like somebody's gonna look at it at 5 o'clock on Friday. So I was like, you know what? I was doing stuff at the community. I'm just gonna do this when I get home. I'll email it from my house. Well, I drive home. I'm super tired. Our daughter at the time would not sleep. Well, I could not get the VPN open. If you know what that is on your computer, it's a secured connection. I could not get that open. And so I'm like, and I couldn't send the spreadsheet. God. And my regional was like, where's the spreadsheet? We've got to have the spreadsheet. This is like 6:30 at night.
Oh my God. They got to have it.
They got to have it. They got to have it. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I get back in my car. I drive all the way back to the community. God. I get onto the network Wi-Fi there, and then I sit there for an hour and I have to do the spreadsheet. Well, and this is on a Friday. So I'm down there. So it took me so I'm down there actually a bit longer. And so I leave the community down there probably about 10:30 at night, maybe 9, maybe 10 o'clock. Well, I'm on my way back, and where to go to my house is a railroad crossing, over a bridge and a railroad crossing, and then you turn up and then it comes over. I live right on the state line. Well, just so happens they had set up a DUI checkpoint there. Now, I had not been drinking. I was 100% sober, but unbeknownst to me, I had outstanding traffic tickets in the state of North Carolina. And I had just bought this car. Well, they pulled me over because I didn't have a drive out tag. And I was looking for my bill of sale. I couldn't find it. And they were running my license. And so the guy gives me my license. He says, you're free to go. I'd start to drive off, and they stopped me. And they said, this guy has a suspended license. And I'm like, oh, there's got to be some mistake. Oh, no mistake. So apparently, as the story goes, not to bore you, that when the whole Homeland Security thing, when all that happened, when they merged all the states so they can all talk together, what happened was if you had tickets, some people's tickets that maybe had been paid actually looked like they hadn't been paid. And because I wasn't the only guy, there's a bunch. So all I had to do was produce records from, 10 years ago that showed that I'd paid these tickets. Well, that didn't happen. So they took me to jail, and I had to spend a night in Catoosa County. And here's what's crazy is I had to drive on I didn't have any way to get to work. I had to drive on a suspended license, and I was driving around Dalton on a suspended license just to do the community work that I was designed to do. That took about 5 months to rectify. Wow. It cost me almost $3,000 I had to get a lawyer. It was to get it all done. It was abysmal. It was abysmal.
That's crazy.
Oh, so working I probably lost more money working at the community than I made while I was there. That was awful.
And we never got the full story. But everybody in the community thought that you were a rich drug dealer or something, and you spent the night in jail. Jason had to go bail you out. Well, and so you came back to work Monday, and so the rumor mill started that you were just as a rich drug dealer, and
I was using my cover
he was able to buy his way out of the jail. It was hilarious. So you came back with some real good street credit.
Oh, I had some street cred. I'll tell you what, I've never been so scared in my life because I didn't go home that night. My wife at the time didn't know where I was. And so she was freaking out. And so of course she called my parents. And as soon as I get out of jail, I posted bond, and I'm like, well, who posted my bond? And I'm like, oh, well, hopefully it's somebody I know, And then I saw my dad, and that was not good. That was not a good conversation. Not a good conversation at all. So my dad was not. And then my dad had to take me to go get my car out of the impound.
Right.
Oh man, that was not good. Not a conversation I want to have again with my dad.
Hilarious.
So, all working at the community. And yeah, I wish. If I was, I wish I could have paid my way out of it because I wouldn't have gone to jail that night. But anyway, and it was all misunderstanding on there. But in their system, it looked like I had not paid tickets, and it was like I had gotten tickets after those tickets. It's like, well, they wouldn't have let me just go. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
But the systems didn't update and talk to each other, and so anyway, that was just luck of the draw, I guess. So
crazy. Yeah, that was a crazy story. People talked about. I wonder what Jonathan got arrested for.
Because my photo was in the Just Busted newspaper, and it was just obviously in Whitfield and Catoosa County, and it was like, holy man.
And there's a group of people on Earth that are some of your coworkers.
Oh.
And they read that just busted paper. No matter where you live, whether it's in Oregon or New York
They
or
read it.
Ohio, Tennessee, there are people that get that magazine every single morning at the gas station, and
Yep.
it's got everybody's mugshot and what they got arrested for and why, who, what, when, and where. And then they get it every day,
Yeah.
and they're looking for their coworkers. And if they find you,
It-
I worked at a place. A guy found one of our coworkers that got arrested. He went straight to the copy machine and was making copies and giving it out to people. And I was
Oh.
like, God, yikes! Really? I hope I never end up in your magazine, man. Jeez.
I don't think
And
like.
so those girls got a hold of
Oh
it.
yeah. Well, and here was the thing. It didn't surface that week. It was like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and it was. They're like, "What'd you do the other?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then they show me the photo. I'm like, "Oh gosh, here we go." So yeah, a lot of I lost all credibility at the at the community. So
You lost some credibility, but gained monumental street cred.
street cred was off the charts. Street cred was off the charts. That's for sure. So,
That's so funny.
but anyway, yeah, good times at the community, as we like to say.
Did I tell you this one?